The year is 1931 and a man named Papillon is breaking into a safe to steal some diamonds. He is a professional safecracker from Paris. His usual day consists of breaking into mansions, stealing expensive jewelry, and handing it over to his boss. In return, he gets paid handsomely. One day, after a successful heist, he meets his boss and hands him over the diamonds that he just stole. The latter inquires if he kept some of the diamonds for himself, but Papillon declines. The boss then brings forth a badly beaten-up man and explains that anyone who lies to him will suffer the same consequence. Papillon is obviously intimidated by the sight, but he keeps his cool and leaves with the payment. Shortly after, he meets his girlfriend, Nanette, and offers her some jewelry that he had concealed from his boss. Badass as they walk away, a man notices them, in particular the necklace that Nanette is holding. The next morning, as the two continue their discussion, a sudden knock is heard on the door. As soon as Papillon opens it, a bunch of cops apprehend him. He is being framed for the murder of the same person his boss had beaten up last night. Papillon tries to explain that he was with his girlfriend the entire night, but the officers ignore his pleas and take him away. Later, at the police station, Papillon is visited by Nanette, who asserts that she wants to give a testimony. However, he stops her, saying it'll be of no use. Papillon knows that no matter what he does, the police aren't going to let him go. So instead, he plans on breaking out of the prison. Before leaving, Papillon tells his girlfriend to move on with her life, but she refuses. After Nanette leaves, Papillon befriends a fellow inmate who reveals that in order to break out of a prison, one needs a lot of money. He then points at a seemingly harmless man named Louis Dega and says he is the solution. Apparently, Dega is a millionaire who has been arrested on the charges of counterfeiting money. Even now, he has hidden a lot of cash inside. Meanwhile, all the prisoners are being taken to the penal colony in French Guiana by boat. At night, Papillon approaches Dega and offers him protection in exchange for money, but the latter refuses. Further at night, as all the prisoners arrive, resting, Dega notices the guy next to him being brutally murdered. It turns out he had hidden money inside his stomach, and that's why he had become a target. Dega is terrorized by the incident, so the very next morning, he approaches Papillon and accepts the offer. The deal is that Dega will be given protection until he reaches the penal colony. He doesn't want to escape with Papillon, as he believes his wife will soon get him out. Later, while everyone is resting, the same murderer from last night targets Dega. He slowly proceeds to strike his victim, but this time Papillon comes to the rescue. The two engage in a fight which alerts the officers. Papillon is punished, but he doesn't seem to care. He is just happy that Dega wasn't killed. The next morning, the boat finally arrives at the penal colony. Before everyone can proceed, Juliet purposely injures himself so that he can be taken to the infirmary. His plan is to escape from there, as the infirmary is the least guarded. After a while, Papillon and the others finally reach the colony, where they will be imprisoned. The place is full of deadly criminals, many of whom have been charged for murder. The warden is also a cruel man. He gathers all the new inmates and reveals that escaping the place is impossible. If someone is caught, they will be sent to solitary confinement for 2 years. If they are caught for the second time, solitary confinement for 3 years. And if they are caught escaping for the third time, they will be sent to the notorious Devil's Island, a place where people go insane. The warden also explains that if anyone commits a murder, they will be publicly decapitated in a guillotine. As life in prison begins, Papillon immediately makes connections. He asks the man responsible for handing out duties to station him and Dega at the infirmary. Dega also tries to play a part, but since he comes from high society, his polite mannerisms and conversation style are not very well received in prison. The man says that it will cost them. For such a high price, Papillon demands that they get cigarettes as well. Dega adds that he wants a notebook because he is an artist. Papillon and Dega are about to be assigned to the infirmary, but the deputy warden recognizes Dega and tells him that his son-in-law has been caught with counterfeit bonds that Dega produced. As revenge, he assigns both Dega and Papillon to work in the mines. In the next scene, all the inmates are assigned to collect rocks. While Papillon does it efficiently, Dega is struggling to keep up because he is not used to labor. Later, Papillon meets a boatman and offers him a large amount of cash in exchange for a boat. The man agrees, and he tells Papillon to arrive at the shore the following night. Just then, a dangerous-looking inmate finds out about the plan and approaches Dega to take his money. But even this time, Papillon arrives to the rescue. He fights with the man and defeats him, although he gets hurt in the process. Seeing this, Dega realizes that he won't be able to last a single day without Papillon. By the time his wife finds a solution to get him out, he will be long dead. Hence, with no options left, Dega also joins Papillon in his escape plan. The next morning, all the prisoners are summoned to the yard to witness an execution. Turns out that while trying to escape, Juliet killed 2 guards. Hence, now he is going to be punished in a guillotine as the prisoners watch in horror. The warden then orders Papillon and Dega to take the corpse to the burial site. Unfortunately, along the way, Dega breaks down. He had never even seen a dead body in his life, but now he is being made to carry a headless man. Papillon encourages him to get up, but to no avail. Just then, the guards also arrive and threaten Dega to pick up the corpse. When he refuses, one of them starts whipping him in the back. Papillon cannot bear it anymore. So in a fit of rage, he picks up a rock and smashes the guard's head with it. He then makes a run for it, but poor Dega cannot move an inch due to fear. At night, Papillon arrives at the shore and meets the boatman. He requests for the boat, but to his surprise, the man starts laughing. When Papillon turns around, he notices several guards. It turns out the boatman had already informed the warden about the escape. He gets a good sum of money every time he provides information about an inmate who is attempting to escape. Shortly after, Papillon is brought back to the prison, and the warden gives him some good news. The guard he struck earlier is still alive, and this means that Papillon won't be given a death punishment. Instead, he will be sent to solitary confinement on another island. When he arrives, he finds the place desolate and gloomy. There is only one rule: don't make any noise. In the previous prison, inmates could roam around and chat with their friends, but in this one, they are confined to a small room. Even talking to oneself is a punishable offense here. Moreover, the food is inadequate and bad. Papillon is only given a single meal, which is a strange-looking soup. But one day, surprisingly, he receives a coconut. Inside, there is a note that mentions he will get coconuts every day from now on. Realizing that it's from Dega, Papillon eats the meal happily. This goes on for a few weeks, but the warden eventually finds out and kills the guard who is serving the food. Then he confronts Papillon and asks him who's responsible for it. As expected, the latter doesn't reveal anything. As a punishment, the warden cuts his already inadequate ration in half. A month passes by. Papillon has become very weak due to the lack of nutrients in his body, and the warden returns, offering a nice meal to Papillon in return for the name of his supplier. Papillon expresses his non-compliance by feeding the meal to the warden. The warden orders that Papillon be kept in complete darkness for the remainder of his time in solitary. In the dark, he hallucinates a safe in the cell wall, which he tries to crack open like he used to, but fails. Finally, the safe opens by itself, symbolizing something opening up in Papillon's mind as well. 2 years pass, and the guards arrive to take an unconscious Papillon out and transfer him to the infirmary. Coincidentally, Dega has started working at the same place. In the past year and a half, he won the warden's trust, because of which he has given extra protection and privileges. One day, Dega meets his friend and learns that he is only pretending to be insane. Papillon knew that this was the only way to return back to the prison, so he started acting like a maniac. "That's nothing," says Dega. "I once thought I was Freddie Mercury." Then the duo again starts discussing their escape plan. This time, they choose 2 more prisoners as helping hands. Papillon wants someone who is strong and cunning, while Dega wants to help someone who is often exploited. They end up recruiting a brute named Charrière and a guy who is always bullied, Charrière. Following this, Dega gives all of his savings to Charrière, and the latter uses his connections to buy a boat. Have they learned nothing? The following night, a movie is going to be shown, and that is when the quartet plans to escape. Dega is nervous about the whole thing, and at one point he even considers backing out. However, his best friend, Papillon, makes him understand that this is their one and only shot at freedom. It is now or never. In the next scene, we are taken to the movie night. Several officials have arrived, and Dega is seen serving them drinks. As per the plan, he spikes them with narcotics and waits for the perfect moment to steal the keys to the main gate. Inside, Papillon and the others are waiting for Dega to return, when suddenly it starts raining. This causes the power to go out. Scared, Charrière suggests they make a run for it and find an alternate route, but Papillon refuses. He is not going to leave without his friend. Fortunately, Dega arrives in the nick of time with the keys. Taking advantage of the darkness, the group opens the main door and quickly flees the prison. After a while, they reach a dead end. The only way to reach the shore is by jumping. Papillon, Charrière, and Maitret land successfully. But when it's Dega's turn, the lights suddenly come back on. This startles him, causing him to land awkwardly and break his leg. Now that he is unable to walk, Charrière suggests they leave him behind, but Papillon once again refuses. He, along with Maitret, carry the wounded Dega and eventually reach the shore, where a boat is waiting for them. Wasting no time, the 4 hop in and sail away into the darkness of the ocean. The next morning, it has been hours since their escape, but Charrière notes that they haven't reached very far. This is because the boat is very small, and it cannot hold the weight of 4 people. Charrière says to Papillon that their boat cannot withstand the weight of 4 men, so they should get rid of Degas, because he is now a liability due to his injury. Papillon ignores him, but when they see a storm brewing in the distance, Charrière becomes more insistent on this idea. He takes out a knife. A brawl ensues in which Maitret is thrown overboard and Charrière almost kills Papillon. However, This time Degas comes to his aid and stabs Charrière repeatedly. Charrière climbs back in and the three men throw Charrière's body into the water. Degas gathers his soaked drawings. The three men try to survive the storm. After a while, the huge storm engulfs them, and the screen fades to black. When they wake up, they find themselves on an island. It turns out a nearby community saw them floating in the ocean and rescued them. As Papillon roams around the place in confusion, a nun greets them and reveals that they are in Colombia. She also mentions that she knows what they did and where they came from. Papillon tries explaining himself, but the nun says that he is safe as long as he repents for his sins. That evening, Papillon meets his best friend and tells that they should leave the place immediately. However, Dega refuses, saying that their deal is over. He is tired of running and now wants to stay in one place, forever, and what better place to stay than the island right next to the prison they just escaped. Papillon leaves him and heads to Madrid, but he too has become accustomed to the place, especially the girls. Hence, Papillon decides to leave the place alone. But as he nears the boat, he notices a couple of officers pulling up. It turns out the evil nun gave up their location to the authorities. Alarmed, Papillon quickly returns to Dega and helps him up. But by this time, the officers have already noticed them. Charrière is shot and killed on the spot, while Papillon and Dega are apprehended. For his second escape attempt, Papillon is given 5 years in solitary. When he emerges from this sentence, he looks like a weakened old man. However, the warden is surprised because no one has ever survived 5 years in solitary. He asks Papillon what kept him going, but Papillon doesn't answer. Next, Papillon is brought to Devil's Island, where he will live out the rest of his life. The high cliffs of the island ensure that no one can escape from it. Papillon enters the Devil's Island prison and meets inmates who have gone insane living here. Among them, he finds Dega, who was sent here 5 years ago by the warden. It is revealed that he got a harsher punishment because he spiked the drinks of the officers. Dega was brought to Devil's Island right after he came back from Colombia. The two are excited to reunite after 5 long years. They may have become old, but the friendship and bond they had remains the same. That evening, when Papillon stares into the ocean, an idea suddenly strikes his mind. He approaches Dega and tells him that if they can make a small raft, the waves will take them to the nearest shore. However, this time Dega refuses to be a part of it. He explains that for 5 years he has lived a peaceful life without any trouble or violence. He has also learned that his wife has married someone else, so there is no point in going back. Nonetheless, he decides to assist Papillon in making the raft out of coconuts. The next morning, the two friends hug each other and say their goodbyes. Then, Papillon throws the raft into the ocean before jumping in himself. The plan works, and the waves appear to be taking him somewhere. As he floats away, Dega has tears in his eyes. Many decades later, in a much older Papillon returns to France and submits his memoir of his time in prison to a publisher, along with all of Degas' drawings. He is still a wanted man in France, but he is here because this is where he wants to tell his story. The end. This film is based on the real-life story of Henri Charrière, whose nickname was Papillon. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this.